Hello and welcome to the first module in our two-part series on pain neuroscience education at Seattle Housing Authority. My name is Corey and I'm a nurse on the Full Life Care Wellness team and a doctoral student studying to become a family nurse practitioner. This program is my doctoral project for my nurse practitioner program. The purpose of my project is to evaluate if we can effectively teach pain neuroscience to SHA residents. Okay, so let's jump right in. In this program, we're going to talk a lot about the nervous system. The nervous system consists of three parts: the brain, the spinal cord, which together make up the central nervous system, and the peripheral nerves, which are all the nerves throughout the body, in the hands, in the feet, in the organs. The nervous system is sort of like a tree, where the brain and the spine are the trunk of the tree, and then the nerves branch off of the spinal cord and extend throughout the body. It's all connected, and messages travel up the nervous system from the periphery. So maybe, for example, from the hand, a message will travel up the arm to the spinal cord, up to the brain. But messages also travel down the nervous system from the brain to the spinal cord and out to the periphery. Okay, so that's the nervous system, but what is pain? I bet you have an intuitive sense of what pain is. We've all experienced pain from time to time, or maybe you're even experiencing pain right now. For this program, we define pain as an unpleasant experience that serves to protect you from tissue damage. Pain is a protective mechanism in the body. The body does not want to be injured. Pain stops you from leaning your hand against a hot stove, and it makes you think twice before doing really risky things like crossing the street without looking. You probably already know this about pain. Pain can be further categorized as acute or chronic. Acute versus chronic refers to how long you've had the pain. Acute pain, in general, is pain that begins suddenly, often with an injury like a broken arm, a burn, or a bee sting, and then as the injury heals, the pain goes away. Pain is generally considered to be chronic if it lasts for 3 months or longer. So for chronic pain, think about people who have had knee pain, hip pain, shoulder pain for many months or maybe even years. Okay, so let's talk about how acute pain works. Remember that acute pain is the pain that comes on suddenly but tends to go away in days or weeks, like a bee sting, stub toe, a broken arm, a burn. How does this type of pain work? What happens when you step on a nail, for instance? So let's say you're walking outside and you step on a nail, which triggers a warning message to be sent up the nervous system and to the brain. It's important to note that at this point, when the message is traveling up the nervous system, it's not pain yet. It's just the nervous system telling the brain, hey, something's not right. You should look into this. The brain receives the signal and then decides what to do with it. The brain is an amazing organ, and it takes into account many different factors when deciding how much pain to give. And here is an example of what I mean. There is a very interesting phenomenon that has been recorded in soldiers who are wounded during battle but don't experience any pain initially. Some of the injuries that these people have sustained are quite severe. We're talking about soldiers who have been impaled by shrapnel, or who have lost fingers and limbs during the heat of a battle and hardly noticed. How could that be? How could someone sustain such a serious injury and not feel pain? Okay, let's think through what we know about how acute pain works. You're in battle. You sustain a major injury. The warning message from the injury travels up the nervous system towards the brain. Remember, at this point, the signal is not pain yet. It's just a warning sign telling the brain, hey, something's not right. Will you please look into this? The soldier's brain looks around and sees a life-threatening situation requiring the soldier to act now. So does the brain decide to give a lot of pain to the soldier? No, it doesn't, because the brain knows that the most important thing for the soldier is to get to safety. Once the soldier is to safety and realizes the extent of his or her injuries, likely the pain will be severe. This story is an example of how pain is all about safety. It's a safety mechanism. It's trying to keep you alive and unharmed. It doesn't matter how much tissue damage has happened. What's more important is how safe your brain has evaluated that you are. Okay, so what about chronic pain? Sometimes acute pain doesn't go away and can become chronic. If you've had pain for months or even years, you're not alone. Chronic pain is a super common problem that affects more than half of Americans. When I'm describing how chronic pain works, I like to use the analogy of a broken kitchen smoke alarm. Maybe one day I'm baking and I forget to take my cinnamon rolls out of the oven and they start to burn. Smoke billows out of the oven. The fire alarm senses the smoke and starts beeping. When I hear the alarm, I realize I left the cinnamon rolls in the oven. I open a window, turn on a fan. Eventually the smoke clears out and the alarm stops beeping. This is how the system is supposed to work. In this analogy, the burning cinnamon rolls represent an injury like a twisted ankle. The alarm represents the body's pain system. When you burn your cinnamon rolls, your fire alarm goes off. When you injure your body's pain alarm goes off. And that's good. Our pain alarm should go off when we injure ourselves. That's how it's supposed to work. If the alarm didn't go off, we wouldn't work as hard as we do to not get injured. But with chronic pain, the alarm system is broken. Instead of the alarm going off when I burn something, it goes haywire. It becomes more and more sensitive. It goes off every time I cook anything. It goes off when I'm not even cooking. I try so hard to sneak through my house, but the slightest movement makes my fire alarm go off. This is how chronic pain works. We're not constantly re-injuring ourselves, just like I'm not re-burning the food. It's just that the body's alarm system has become overactive, and it can get so bad that it almost never turns off. It can wear you down, and it can make you feel hopeless. Okay, so here's another analogy. Have you ever had a song stuck in your head? Well, chronic pain is very similar. Just like you can get a song stuck in your head, you can get pain that is stuck in your nervous system. There's an old saying, neurons that fire together, wire together. This means that the more the nervous system does something, the better the nervous system gets at doing that one thing. This is how learning works. Say you spend 10 years practicing juggling. At first, it's going to be extremely difficult because the neurons have never fired together. But with practice, they'll begin to wire together and you'll be able to juggle with ease. So if you've been receiving pain signals from your knee through your nervous system for the last 10 years, you are Cirque du Soleil level good at receiving pain signals from your knee. Your neurons have been firing together and they have wired together. That is how chronic pain works. But I do have some good news, which is that bodies tend to heal. Thank goodness. We know that just because our pain alarm is going off doesn't necessarily mean that our injury hasn't healed. In fact, the longer you have pain, the less reliable it becomes at predicting actual tissue damage. For the most part, after 3 months, the tissues of the body have healed as good as they can. But pain sometimes sticks around because the nervous system becomes overly active in delivering the pain experience. The nervous system is doing its best, it's trying to protect you from injury, but it's sort of broken. So the question becomes, how do we quiet down the pain alarm? Okay, so at this point you might be saying, wait. Are you telling me that pain is not caused by tissue damage? And my answer would be yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. Pain is not caused by tissue damage. Pain is a protective mechanism. The brain will give you pain anytime it decides it would be in your best interest to do so. Think about people who have phantom limb pain. Phantom limb pain is when a person experiences pain in a limb that's been amputated. So for example, if this person in this picture were experiencing pain in their right hand, but they don't have a right hand, there is no tissue there to be damaged. Nevertheless, the pain can be excruciating. This is an example of how you don't need tissue damage in order to experience pain. Okay, so here is another example. This is a common neuroscience experiment where researchers get a volunteer and set them down with a fake hand. In this picture, the volunteer's left hand is fake and their real hand is hidden behind the white wall. The researcher then tries to trick the participant's brain into believing that the fake hand is actually their hand. And they do this by using a paintbrush to cause the same stimulus to the real hand as they are doing to the fake hand. So as the volunteer feels the brush stroke on the ring finger of their real hand, they're also observing a brush stroke on the ring finger of the fake hand, which helps to establish the link. The researcher then takes one of the pins that you see here and pokes the fake hand that the volunteer can see. The researcher is not poking the real hand. That would be mean. But nevertheless, the volunteer feels the pain in the real hand. How is this possible? How did the volunteer feel a pinprick even though it wasn't their hand? Well, you probably already know the answer. The brain delivered pain to the participant because it decided it would be protective. This is just another example of how you don't need tissue damage in order to feel pain. There are three main buckets that pour into the pain experience: biological factors, psychological factors, and social factors all influence how much pain we experience. People tend to focus a lot on the biological factors, which is the health of the tissues. Are my tissues healthy, or are they angry? Are they inflamed? And this is part of the story, but it's not the whole story, and it doesn't make sense to only focus on this piece. So what else is contributing to pain? Well, the second bucket is our thoughts and feelings. One way to think about this is that the part of our brain that is in charge of giving us pain to protect us is also listening to our thoughts, listening to our feelings. When we say to ourselves that our knee is grinding and that it's never going to get any better and that we feel we're out of control when we feel lost, your brain is eavesdropping on those thoughts. The brain says, oh no, we're in trouble. Well, I better give us more pain so that we can stay safe. And it works the opposite way too. So when we think thoughts like, I'm healing, I'm getting better, my tissues are healthy, my body is healthy, the part of your brain that is in charge of pain says, oh, okay, we're okay. We can turn the pain alarm down. And the last bucket is social factors. Being in a supportive community, having enough resources helps quiet the pain signal. The brain will turn up the pain signal when we are experiencing stress from family conflict or stress from not having enough money to pay the rent. If you have any pain in your body right now, I would invite you to try to think about it in this new way. Can you see pain not as a sign of injury, but rather as a protective mechanism working overtime because it cares about you? The research shows that people who really understand how pain works have less pain and less pain-related disability. But pain neuroscience is slippery like a fish. It's easy to revert back to the old way of thinking. It can take a really long time to fully grasp these concepts because what I'm telling you is so different than what the broader culture thinks pain is. But keep coming back to it, try to revisit it in your mind as much as possible, and we're going to talk about it more next week. The research shows that this approach works better if we couple it with an exercise program. So I want to recommend an exercise activity for you to try to do before watching the second video in 1 week. As a side note, there are certain injuries, typically acute injuries, where it may not be safe to exercise. If your medical provider has told you to avoid physical exercise, we recommend you follow your provider's instructions. If you are unsure if it is safe for you to exercise, you can check out our red flags information sheet on the Full Life Care website. So here's my challenge for you. Pick any form of movement that you like. It can be walking, stretching, dancing, whatever. The only important thing is that you pick something that you really enjoy. Do that physical activity for at least a few minutes every day for the next week. And while you're doing it, I want you to think about what you know about pain neuroscience. Each time you experience pain during the activity, say to yourself, my tissues are healthy, and this is just my alarm system going off, I am safe, or any other mantras you think of. Our goal is to convince the brain to turn the volume down on the pain alarm. Next week, we'll start to think about our own pain journeys. If you would like to look ahead at the Why Do I Hurt workbook, please feel free. You can read it, you can fill it out, it's yours to use. And as always, if you have questions, concerns, or you just want to share how it's going, please reach out to me or another member of the wellness team. We would love to hear from you. Otherwise, I'll see you in a week for video 2. Thank you.